the Grey Hat Beard podcast.
Hello and welcome to Grey Hat Beard Princess, the modern workplace podcast where we talk about all things Microsoft 365. I'm the Grey of Grey Hat Beard. My name's Kevin McDonnell. I'm the Head of Practice Modern Workplace at CPS and Office Apps and Services MVP.
I'm Al. I'm the Hat of Grey Hat Beard Princess, and I work for Microsoft in the Microsoft Technology Centre.
Hi everyone, my name is Gary. I am the beard of Grey Hat Beard Princess. Need to make sure I get that right. And I am now a Microsoft 365 developer advocate at Microsoft.
Ooh, so a nice shiny new role for you at Microsoft.
Yes, indeed. Yes, very exciting. New challenges, same technology stack, but yeah, totally different approaches. So yeah, it's going to be interesting working with all you lovely developers out there who are building on the platform. You are my
and the
audience.
horrible ones as well.
And the horrible ones. But yeah, it's dead exciting. It's a new role that I'm just, can't wait to get my teeth into.
Big congratulations. And just for Al, development, when you do coding and stuff, you remember that thing you used to do many moons ago?
Oh, it's that. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, that green screen stuff, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, all that sort of thing. Unfortunately, we don't have our princess today. She will be back with us recording soon, but just a busy life at the moment. But we do have a guest. So, Luke, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks for having me. I feel like I could fit in. I've got a beard as well, so I feel like a bit of competition here, but not
Grey Hat Beard Princess. Yeah, that works.
Maybe, but this is the lockdown look, so maybe we give it a slightly different tint to it. But yeah, name's Luke Evans. I'm actually a freelance consultant, but my place that I work the most at the moment is Agilicis. I'm a solutions architect there. What would I say? My background really is I used to be a blue badger as well to the two on the call that are current blue badge. I did about 6 years at Microsoft doing SharePoint was where I used to work. So pre-sales and support. Since then, consultant / architect doing, I don't know, mainly the whole 365 stack, but the areas of interest, the things that excite me the most are probably security, identity. Those are probably the things that get me going the most is really what it's all about for me. I have a soft place in my heart for all things collaboration as well, of course. But that's probably a brief summary about myself.
Security versus collaboration. Maybe that should have been the topic in a good fight. But
don't you worry. We've already got that one, Kev. Me and Zoe did a session on that one. Teams usability versus security. So we have been down that track, and I'll let the cat out of the bag, but you can have both. But the problem is you're going to have to pay for it, and that's probably that's the answer right there.
That's the blue badge motto, isn't it?
Well,
So did you say you left, or are you still you're still there?
Well, you know what? I've got a good one. Whenever you're taking these Microsoft exams and you don't know the answer, you've got four ones to choose from. I always say go for the one that you have to pay more for. If there's four answers and you have to pay Microsoft more money, that's most likely the answer. So that's typically another
Like that.
That's definitely a good tip.
Or it's the new feature.
If
in doubt, always the new feature. Yeah.
And if it's an expensive new feature, definitely.
Oh
definitely.
My goodness.
Yeah.
That's an automatic win in my eyes.
All other options are irrelevant at that point. You've hit the jackpot.
And speaking of which, I don't know. And sorry to elaborate, but I took that SC100 the other day. Has anyone tried that? No? Oh my goodness. I feel like I got eaten alive on that one. So I took the beta of SC100. And it was a lot about Azure file storage accounts, which was an interesting twist.
See, everybody I've spoken to who's done it has said that there is a different nasty subject in there every time they do it. Some people go, "Oh yeah, Sentinel was terrible." File storage. Some people have gone Key Vault or
That's fairly easy and trivial, I felt, but the storage accounts came out of nowhere was the one. And I remember taking the beta of the Teams exam. And I felt maybe I got 30%, but I actually passed that. So I'm hopeful, that I might just scrape by this time as well. Like just fluke it. Pure luck is the plan. But
Well,
yeah.
good luck to that. Good luck. We'll
Yeah.
keep an eye open for that.
We'll be watching Twitter on that one. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the
The
main
new
thing
storage
is,
account expert, we know where to go.
well, if you don't see anything, then let's just let it die and then never mention it again.
So for Luke will be covering the news in this first half, and then in part two, which I think might be out later this week, because we are recording a few. We've been a little bit slow trying to organise ourselves recently, so we've got a few back to back. So in part two, we'll be talking about infrastructure as code for Microsoft 365, which Luke, you're talking about at the Scottish Summit, so you're an absolute expert in all this, and you've finished your presentation completely. That's right, isn't it?
Let's just say, yeah, why not? I think I'm still formulating it, but I have some strong ideas around infrastructure as code and why it can be useful, and I think it's well worth looking at from a 365 perspective. So yeah, I wouldn't say I have all the answers by any stretch of the imagination, but I certainly have some strong ideas on the way I think it should be used.
So keep an eye out for part two will be coming with that. Just a quick one for those who've listened to the last show. Pete and I had a lovely walk and talk. I've kind of listened back to the full thing recently, and I know some of the sound was lovely, some of the sound maybe was a bit interrupting. I know that lawnmower was driving us crazy at the time, so I hope it didn't go too bad. We're kind of experimenting with new ideas on that one, so we'll see how the rest goes. But avoid lawnmowers in the summer, I think, is the key.
Unless you are a lawnmower enthusiast and you just like that, come.
If anyone can identify the lawnmower from the background, but you bet style, that would be quite impressive. But right, we'll kick on with the news, and every now and then you record a podcast and a bit of news drops that you knew was coming soon, and it lands at just the right time. And thankfully this one did with us, because it's one of the areas that I'm particularly excited about, and that is Viva Goals. For those, some of you may have seen, I spoke at Teams Nation on OKRs and Ally.io that Microsoft bought back in, was it October or November, I think, last year. Well, they've now announced today that the integrations happen. You can speak to Microsoft about getting onto the private preview, and they've got details of that it's going to be called Viva Goals. So the integration of Ally into I've lost count now, 5th Viva module within there. I know Glint's going to be around. I'm going to call that the 6th for now. That's bringing into it. And what I love to see with this is that it's got that integration with Teams, DevOps, and other work management tools. And it's also announced with this that it's got more integrations to come with the other Viva stack, to Power BI, and also the other Microsoft 365 services. And I know that's one of the things the out-the-box Ally didn't have so much. For those who don't know, I might put a link to my show notes into the full Teams Nation, as they've put that up on YouTube. But OKRs are objective key results. They're really there to get your organization transparent into what the goals of the organization and what you play into that. So really, everyone's had their objectives and things like that. And now, Al, you set mine a few years back in a nice Word document, and we had those OKRs, but it wasn't transparent to everyone. We didn't have that same roll up. We didn't have the automated measuring. That's what Viva Goals will bring on there. So really excited to see this land. I think they've said they're coming January, available in Q3 2022. So hopefully not too far away that it comes out.
I think this will make a massive difference to a lot of organisations, especially when they're starting to look at how they measure outcomes rather than activity. You've got Viva Insights, it's great. It gives us activity, workplace analytics, but put this together with it where you're saying, actually, do these behaviours generate these outcomes and these results? I think that'll make a massive difference to a lot of organisations. Very interested to see how this plays out.
What about the one for me is with Viva is the licensing. Is it do we have any indication as what it's going to be?
So they have said it will be, if you've got the all-in Viva license, it will be included in that.
Okay.
Is what they've said so far. I don't think they've made any further announcements. I didn't notice it earlier No, if you want to get it independently, they haven't said anything like that. But if you go for that all-in Viva license, obviously you've got for the UK £3 per user for months for topics, same for learning, same for what if I missed insights on there. If you get all three, then you'll also get Ally and a discount on Glint.
Okay.
On there. So, but no, they haven't said the individual. Be interesting if they stick to that £3 per user per month for Viva Goals as well. But no, nothing confirmed on that one yet.
Cool.
But good question. Always a fun one.
Well,
You always love licensing questions, don't you, Kev?
I do. What's it? I don't mind the Viva ones because it's £3 per user per month for what? Well, whatever it is, basically. Which is quite
what about Viva Connections though? And then you got the
Viva Connections included, which is always nice.
There you go, the freebie.
Not free, included.
No? Included. And then you've got
always like to make that distinction.
Which is the other one that they throw in the My Analytics or the Viva Analytics? There's a certain level that you get.
The
with
Viva
E3,
Insights. Yeah.
Insights,
so with Viva Learning and Viva Insights, you get an included version within that, and then there's a paid for the extra things. But I think what I like with Viva Goals, and we've been having the same debate internally about having this, it's when you turn up on a Monday morning, how do you know what you're doing is aligned to what the organisation wants you to do on there? And especially for larger organisations, you've got tier upon tier. It just adds that focus. And I know I used to work in financial services. New CTO came in, or CIO as he was there, and he sent out programs, said these are the top 7 things that we're going to make changes. So you've got your BAU, you're going to keep supporting systems, but in terms of change projects, these are the 7 areas of focus that we're going to do, and all your projects need to align to this. And someone said, what if it doesn't? It was like, well, I'm not interested in it then. And he didn't hold back. He was just saying, this is our focus, and it was things like virtualization and really important elements to it, and he had measures for each of those. And I look back at that, yes, it certainly ruffled some feathers up initially, but everyone knew what it was they should be pushing towards, and it pulled everyone into the same direction. And that's exactly what Viva Goals will give organizations. So if done correctly, if you just turn it on, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever. But the kind of embracing of it is what will really make the difference. So quite excited about this.
I think the whole there's a software there to take your OKRs and then distribute them right across your organization, so you can see it's not just C-level, it's also teams as well, so individual teams or even communities as well, right? Within your organization, you can use OKRs, this methodology, to kind of keep some focus and get people, like you say, moving in the right direction. I think the one thing is, how do you use it, right? You could put OKRs and user stories in a similar bucket, right? People go, use user stories, right? But you can write bad user stories. You can also write bad OKRs. So there's an element there of looking at it and going, okay, what do we need to do to understand what is a good OKR? What's going to really help us, or actually what's going to potentially confuse people even more. So I think there's that to kind of factor in as well, is that getting out there and just doing it at first and having that platform to put them there, but having that element to reflect and go, okay, we set these OKRs, come back to it in a couple of months, maybe 3 months, reflect and go, did we get anywhere with any of these? Did we, get halfway? And then just say, okay, well, what changes can we make potentially in our organization to really hit those goals? So I think there's a couple of elements there that are going to need to go alongside the technology, because it's really for a lot of organizations, it's going to be a transformation in the way that you work, in the way you think about work. I'll said it correctly.
If it's not, then you might want your license money back. So.
Well, yeah, it's outcomes and outputs, right? We've all seen this before with, we'll just put this software in and we're this, we've put DevOps in, we're agile, we put Jira in, all that kind of stuff.
Stop writing documentation. Great, we're agile.
Exactly, right? There's lots of things that we need to consider, but I do like the way that this is heading. Definitely, it's good.
Last week I'm trying to think, can I talk about this? Yes, because they said I could put it on LinkedIn, so that's fine. But I was going through the partner training. So Ally do OKR leader and OKR champion training as part of the onboarding process from it. What was lovely is bits of that are all about writing OKRs, so they guide you on a lot of those things. So there's a lot of material that they will have available for people being onboarded, whether it's directly with Microsoft or through partners. The material there is fantastic, and that kind of train the trainer, building up champions internally, all the good things that we do with all the other adoption and change projects, they're all there and available. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing that. Moving on, because I can talk about Viva Goals for hours and hours. So before I go on too far, Luke, you had a nice article that you shared with us.
Yeah, cool. Wonderful. This was an interesting one that came up in the message center, but it's another great little addition that they've added. Previously when we're working with 365 groups, one of the key things.
Apologies for people listening and maybe not looking at the screen. If you give it a bit of a guidance as to what the article's about.
Sure, by all means. It's Microsoft launches group ownership governance policy. So it's a new feature that's launched basically from Microsoft. It landed in the message center, I think, at the end of April. It's really around helping to ensure every Microsoft 365 group that you've got out there has an owner. That's really what it is. And this article that we've got up on screen helps basically walk you through the configuration steps, how to enable the feature, what kind of configuration steps are available. It kind of helps set the scene. So it is by Tony Redmond, and he does loads of great articles like this. But for me, it helps set the scene. It helps you kind of understand, what the problem is, why would we want to use this, and how we'd configure it, and what impact it will actually have. So for me, we've had the concept of group exploration for a while. That's a policy that they had as part of, I think, Azure AD Premium P1. It looks for groups that are no longer active. And this kind of takes it to the next level, is what I would say. This is basically looking for ownerless groups. Now, something I learned when I was researching this the other day was that there are actually checks and balances in place to stop you from leaving ownerless groups, which, I've never actually come across. But I think in Outlook, in PowerShell, I think in a bunch.
Sorry, you can't resign. You're the owner of these groups and the only one left. You can't leave yet. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and you know what? I've never actually seen that. That was really interesting to me. I actually hadn't seen that one pop up. Obviously, I'm not trying to jettison my groups. Is I think the message that we're saying there. I'm not shirking responsibility of my ownership, but it's pretty darn cool that they have that in. But I understand there are scenarios where we can still get in a place where you might end up with an ownerless group, and that might be that they delete the remaining owner using PowerShell, and they just delete the user. And in which case, you might end up in a scenario where you have an ownerless group. Now, that isn't the end of the world, is what we'd say. Groups will carry on functioning without ownership. People can still keep talking, chatting, etc., using that group. But on top of that, admins can add people in, so you don't necessarily have to have an owner. I think where this is really powerful is this policy that we can put on top, and it's really quite cool. So it will take a look at all the members. It will see who are active from that group. So your Microsoft 365 group. It will look whether they're active is the first point of call. And what it's going to do is basically check to see who are most active users, and I'm going to email them asking if they want to claim ownership of this team. So you guys are active. It selects them randomly, is my understanding. So we can select, I think you can choose between 1 and 90 members, and we can choose randomly how many we choose, and basically it pulls out active users and sends them a mail asking them to claim ownership. We can set up the policy, so how many members we notify, how many, how long do we repeat this? So it'll send it every week for 4 weeks to 7 weeks, and we can choose that until basically someone claims ownership of this. And I think the other interesting thing was licensing was the weird one from my point of view.
You stole my question.
Sorry, Kev. This one is a bit more unique, is what I would say. So I think it's basically it's thrown in it's included in the E3. We'll say, Kev, as long as you don't make use of specific functionality. And I know one of the specific pieces of functionality is when we're saying who we're choosing to kind of ask to take over this group, we can limit that to an Azure AD group, which seems like an interesting one, but it may be, and this is a certain scenario, say, the responsible people in our organization we'll go with Gary and Kevin, and Luke and Al are on the outs. Yeah. So we could have these two in a security group and email those two only. And we could have it so that me and Al basically can't take ownership over any team. They don't trust us in any way, shape, or form. So that is the gotcha. And I think if you enable that feature, that's where they want you having the P1. So,
and does that stop working, or are you basically at risk of license breach, but it doesn't stop you doing it?
My
Is
gut
this another one of
feel
those
is
beauties?
it's going to be an honesty one. Is the feeling I have at the moment? Yeah, I don't think it's going to actually do, because I don't know if I want to let the cat out of the bag, but as soon as you have that Azure AD Premium P1 license in your tenant or the P2, it's activated for everyone, and it's an honesty policy. So as it's off the back of that license, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same sort of scenario. Is the thing. But for me, it's a very welcome addition. Certainly with the group expiration, you lay on top ownerless groups. I think this one's been. And they said in the article they've been working on it for years. So, I mean, yeah, I'm hopeful that there's not too many ownerless groups out there. But it's certainly a good one to have. Well, you like that one? I think
I do like that one, and it's one that we see come up in conversation an awful lot in terms of the governance and the rules. And there's there's tools out there that will monitor this. You can write PowerShell that will check it. And I know when I joined Microsoft, one of the things that I did was to go through and work out exactly how many teams I was the sole owner of, and accidentally found all the teams that I was maybe
of as well.
There were no owners of, because people had left and those teams had just kind of just sat there. And I think that's where a lot of organizations as teams, as happens with everything, especially with the pandemic, teams starts, people try it, they test it, they don't use it, they leave, nothing happens. And I think that's where this tool will be really useful. It'll be very interesting to see how long it takes before they do the same thing for private channels.
Ooh, now you're talking. Yeah. And then on top of that, this is on the group level, isn't it? Is the thing. So, and then private channels is its own entity itself, isn't it? So they kind of branch off. Yeah. So yeah, I think that would be a welcome one, because, and stop me if I've got this wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can take a private channel and you can create it kind of in the dark, really, of an owner, for example.
If the permissions are set, are set up, the owner of the team doesn't necessarily have access to it.
Which, I think again, that's a great takeout, that you could layer this one on top, because imagine all those private channels hiding out there is the one, and you've got no idea.
Until you go to create another one and find out, there's a lot of private channels in this team. Okay.
Oh yeah, I can't create another one. The limit's been reached.
So, do you know with this? So this is for ownerless, but presumably there's nothing in this that will say you need at least 2 owners. This is purely just for no owners that it's looking at.
That's a good question. I had a scan. I don't know if it actually had that one. I don't think there is a one that says how many you have to have. I think it's just you have to have 1, is my understanding, and that's where the rule set is really around. But again, when you send out this kind of nomination email, as it were, if you send it to 90 people, I'm pretty sure you'd hope you'd end up with a number of kind of people taking on that mantle. But I think on top of that, I still like the one where you try to leave a group and they say you have to transfer it. But I think that is only to 1 person.
That is a good one. So it would be nice to be able to a sort of feature request. This, I think, would be to enforce 2 owners, so that you have less of that kind of people left owning things on there. I know that we've had Michael Pisarek on the show with Orchestra, and that's one of the features it has in there. You can choose how many owners you want for a group and kind of have reporting off that. So good to know there's still a space for those governance tools like Orchestra and Rencor and others out there.
Never enough, Kev. You always want more.
Always want more.
But I think it's a valid point, and that would be a good one to specify the number of you got. I don't think I saw it in the policy when I set it up, but that's I think it's well worth just switching it on, especially if you're not planning to make use of the kind of Azure AD groups and blocking or nominating. If you just say all members, I mean, why would you not use it? I think is the question from my side.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. So next bit of news. Now, I'm going to be honest, I signed up for this and then never had a chance to actually join in. But this, was it last Tuesday, I think, wasn't it, was the Ability Summit 2022. And I think, Al, you saw this one and you saw some of the announcements that came out from it.
The key one that I saw in terms of the announcements, like you, I signed up but wasn't able to actually attend, was the new devices, the accessible devices. So a wide range of different controls to enable you to actually customize a mouse and to actually interact and trigger things in different ways, which I think is great. It's taking all of that sort of the Xbox adaptive controller, taking all of that forward and going, actually, look, we know that there's a lot more need for a lot more diverse hardware to enable people to interact in different ways. And there's some really interesting things that I'd love to try out here, because the standalone mice that you can do things with, and make your own mouse with different components, from 3D printed mouse tails.
Nice.
It looks really interesting in terms of how flexible it will be for a lot of people.
So did you say you could 3D print the ones that they're making them available?
Choose from available 3D printed mouse tail designs, or configure,
Awesome.
print, or build 3D printed mouse tails for a custom mouse that's unique to you. So it's got some really interesting concepts. Great, I've got a mouse, but I can actually print adaptive elements to make it easier for me to fit. Which personally, I like a mouse that's not completely flat. So it's quite nice. It gives you all sorts of different ways to actually interact.
Anything you can 3D print that adds to the customizability of your hardware, I think, is awesome. That gives it renewed life. I love 3D printing is awesome. So that's a really cool piece of news.
It's a really good use case, isn't it, to be able to say, print it to your size, and if it fits onto a single mouse, then you can turn it into whatever you want.
That is pretty cool. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like you say, it's a tailored device that then can be tailored even more, right? It's like ultra customizable, and it just goes to show it is to tackle what we've mentioned about accessibility and disabilities, and everyone's different. It's not just one size fits all. Is then coming up with these ideas on the hardware side to really just enable the use of all the devices that Microsoft are putting out there. So there's the normal kind of Surface, but then customize it to exactly what you need. I think I saw Hector was tweeting about the kit was on show in Hector Minto. Was the kit was on show in the London Microsoft store, and you could go in.
Right.
You can go in and you can take a look, because I think you mentioned there's lots of things in the store, but to see that in there, and you could go along and you could speak to one of the advisors as well. So if this is something that you are really interested in, you can go along and see for yourself. It's really, really great.
I think it was something, Al, I remember you saying a couple of years ago that when it comes to accessibility, it doesn't need to be a permanent disability or change. There could be times when you need to use this because you've broken an arm, you've got gout in your knee, blah, 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 blah. All sorts of things.
You've got a twin in each arm.
Yeah, exactly. Use the mouse to,
that's temporary, but then how do you how do you toggle that mute button, when you've got a twin in each arm?
That's why I need the foot pedal, Al. That's the one.
Absolutely, you see. So, the adaptive hub with, 4 connectors, you can stick one under the desk to mute, and that could be useful for people that, aren't even in need of holding 2 twins.
That one's really quite cool. I wish I could just press it now and mute myself. That would be so cool. What a great demonstration that would be. Unfortunately, I don't have the foot pedal. So no, but anything with 3D printing and the customizability, that sounds absolutely rocking to me.
I agree. There's some nice news, the kind of traditional SharePoint roadmap pit stop. I know Mark Cashman and Chris McNulty do the Intrazone podcast on there, which is always a good listen on that. And they talked about a few things, a few announcements to try and pick up some of the big ones. Viva Topics in Outlook is now generally available, so you can put if you've got your Viva Topics licenses, then you can put your hashtags in there. I'm a little bit disappointed you have to kind of manually put them in. I'm hoping some of the AI will automatically detect those eventually, but still nice to get that integration on there. We will put a link in this. There's a nice click-through demo that Chris has put together of how this all works. my favouritely named things, the Viva Topics Insight Analytics, which is nothing to do with Viva Insights. This is Insights for Topics, just to confuse everyone on that.
So the lowercase I there is the giveaway. That's what
is
we're
important, and the lack of S at the end. So it's Insight Analytics. It couldn't be Viva Topics Analytics, obviously, but yeah. But having said that, very, very nice to see those kind of numbers. I always do like a bit of data coming through with things. And my mouse has decided to turn around. Which way it's going? There we go. Create from SharePoint app bar, lots of nice new updates. Microsoft List for Android, I think, was one of the big ones there. I know Android users have been asking for this for a while, and that's now available, which is fantastic. So aka.ms/mslist/app/android. I didn't know aka.ms could have multiple slashes in. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. I thought that the point was to make them short. Just going to point that one out. Yeah. It's an interesting decision to make a short link long.
I have no idea what's going on with my mouse. Every now and then it keeps changing the direction that I scroll to make it go through. Oh, no, it's gone again. Pin shared libraries. There was one that jumped out, and I can't see it here because the reason I noticed it was, there we go. Whiteboard files now being stored in SharePoint and OneDrive, so you can actually use those, see those as files. You've got all the goodness of your security compliance and search as well. So you can start to search for content that's in your whiteboard once you've moved those over into SharePoint and OneDrive now. So I thought that was really useful for those notes you take and then forget where you put them, which I never do, honest, on there. So some quite nice SharePoint and Microsoft 365 updates there. Gary, you had a one you noticed that's not just about normal users.
Yes. So the latest release of SharePoint Framework. So SharePoint Framework was a decision was made that all new releases will go into beta releases. They're released to the public. You can try them before it's properly released. So there's usually a few beta releases that happen. The latest one on 1.15, which is going to be the next version of SharePoint Framework, includes a long-awaited update for development in SharePoint Online. So cast your minds back to the old classic days. You were able to take a list and you were able to take the list view forms, the edit, the view forms, and you were able to customize them and put your own code in there. And that was a big staple of building solutions as well. And we didn't get this in modern. We had the Power Apps approach. We've had some updates that have been made with the JSON formatting as well with the forms. But now we have the capabilities as a developer to override the canvas. So you can take over those three forms and put in your own code and hook into the lifecycle events like close and save. So it's early days at the moment. The functionality is there. The dev story isn't quite there, but it's getting refined. But I think this has been something that has been, again, it's been long awaited. It's been on the backlog for years. I remember talking to Vesa Juvonen about this at Collab Summit, I think in 2018, and even then, there was a lot of interest around that. So it's taken a while, and they're getting there. But yeah, I think if you're a developer, definitely check this out. Check out the video that Vesa's.
So you can break the look and feel of SharePoint completely, Amal. Look it horrific, like the good old days.
You can, yes, with great responsibility though. Remember, but it allows that other option, which a lot of people have said has just not been there. The Power Apps approach is great and it's useful. It has its limitations. It doesn't suit all scenarios. So this is
can't deploy between different lists, as I found out again the other day.
Yeah, so definitely check it out if you're developing in SharePoint Framework and on SharePoint Online.
And I think that's, to me, I love the Power Platform. I love that ability to customize those forms. But it's, and we had a chat with Louise recently about sort of Power Automate for personal productivity. To me, the Power Apps customizing of forms it's not really an enterprise solution. It's tweaking something as a kind of ad hoc kind of thing. This to me feels like the proper enterprise way to customize the forms, to get them out in a supportable way. You can add your analytics, all the good stuff that you do with customizing a page, you should be able to do with this.
Exactly, that's the kind of scenario, because it's SharePoint framework. There's already a deployment model that's already there. Deploying either individual sites or tenant-wide. You have that scalability for that customization that you're putting in because of the framework that already exists, which, like you mentioned, isn't necessarily there with like Power Platform, and so you're picking and choosing what technologies you're using based on the scenario that you're working with, rather than just having to use one approach, or not using approach at all and just not doing it because you don't see that there's a better alternative. So yeah, I think it's definitely a good move, and yeah, I've been waiting for this for quite a while. I can't wait for it to actually go live.
I know I joked about making it not look like SharePoint. Please don't do that. Please keep it looking like it.
Yes.
What, you
definitely.
can't go mad with CSS?
Yeah, just don't. Please don't. Although now we've got here, maybe we can have custom fonts in SharePoint soon. That'll be fun. Yeah.
Well, you can rewrite the whole form if you want, and just go go to town. It will be. I just remember back in the days, like SharePoint down 7. I remember all this, on-prem, the forms. I can't believe it's taken this long to get here. Really, is the thing. It's absolutely crazy, because I'm not. I can write a Hello World SPFX web part, and that's about it. But it's good to see this one's back, because everyone used to go to town on these forms. Like Gary said,
I think it is, but that's why they stopped people doing it, because people did go to town and completely ruin things, and then everyone complained about SharePoint not working, and it turned out to be all the customizations that people had hacked into it. So,
but it's
I can see why this has taken a long time to do that.
It'll all be client side, won't it? Because it's SPFX, so it's built on an established framework. So hopefully, if anyone's to blame, it will only be, like Gary said, great power comes great responsibility.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the big difference is in the classic days, we didn't really have a framework per se to really make these types of changes. It was you could have a combination of people throwing things into a page and editing the web part page. The script editor, a bit of JS link. It could be really fractured and difficult to move as well. So with its SharePoint framework, again, it's a lot more formalized. If you're putting code into that page and you're wanting to upgrade it and you want to move it, it's much easier to remove that customization and identify where that customization is as well, because it's that ad hoc ability to just say, I've taken a bit of JavaScript and CSS and I'm going to throw it into this one page in a tenant. Needle in a haystack time, trying to find that. Whereas at least it's more controlled, I think. But it's you've got to be careful with what you're putting in there, in the sense of look and feel, right? You don't want to.
Any query string backdoor this time, Gary? Do you know? Is it all going to be controlled through SPFX, or can someone just whack the question mark and edit mode equals 2 or whatever it used to be? Can we just backdoor
I've not seen that. It'd be interesting to see, but yeah, there are a few tricks out there.
Well, I'm hopeful that one's not back, because that, like you said, people used to just edit a web part page and drop them in, and you'd come back when you went to migrate it, and you're like, what on earth happened to you?
Yes, yeah, completely agree.
I just realised we missed one article, Al. You noted on the Microsoft security experts.
Yeah, I think this is quite an interesting one. It's an extension of managed services that Microsoft offer. We've been talking a lot about security, and this is really starting to say, okay, well, do you want a managed service that's going to do some of this stuff for you? That's going to, it's got Microsoft Defender experts for hunting, to allow Microsoft experts to actually do the hunting, so it's really
just to be clear, this is hunting for security issues, nothing to do with small furry animals,
or even large furry animals. Yes,
or large furry
animals. No animals are involved in this.
Excellent.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really interesting, additional service that I think a lot of clients will be very keen to take up, because it's really hard to start up a SOC and actually start to manage the it's great putting all of these signals in, It's great getting them all, but you actually have to respond to them, and you actually have to know how to, distill out the high risks against all of the noise and the false positives, and that takes some work. So there's some really interesting options opening up for clients to actually go and get these managed services rather than actually having to do all of this themselves.
Absolutely. So I think it's interesting. This article also talks about other ones like the Microsoft Managed Desktop, the Managed Teams rooms. There's definitely
I mean, there's definitely an extending growth of services that can actually make life easier for clients. Especially those that don't necessarily have the full IT teams in house and don't want to, or they're transitioning from other technologies. This can really help them get started.
I think you're spot on, because a lot of the time when I'm out speaking with customers, we often talk about Sentinel. You get a whole volume of alerts coming in, but what do you actually do? And sometimes people don't realize you actually need a dedicated person or team to handle this stuff coming in and actually triage.
Or you have one person, they leave, and suddenly there's this gap, and it's like, what, he used to deal with that, or she used to deal with that. What happens now?
Or you have the other one where it's they're an information security manager and they've been asked to take this on, and it's talking about all different levels of exploits, and they don't really. It's not really their wheelhouse, on a day-to-day basis. So this one I can actually see fitting in quite well, because people are stamping up the E5, that they get all this great security and technology kind of layered in. It's what do they do with it, and how do they actually make it work for them?
Definitely. So moving on, as we're overrunning a little bit, just for a change, we've got builds coming up. What's it, week after next on there, which is very exciting, 24th to 26th on there. So make sure you register. But I think there's 2, possibly 3 exciting things to say about this. One, if you are UK based, and I hope this is still open on there, but Adam Jackson has said there will be an in-person session on the 25th of May at Thames Valley Park offices in Reading. I should be there. I think Vesku's, Vesa Nopenen's going to be over there. Gary, you're going to be there, I believe, as well. So there should be a lot of people coming to visit. Great chance to actually effectively have an in-person mini summit with Microsoft, so it'd be fantastic. But not only that, Gary, you are speaking as well. Oh, I've got the wrong link there. We got Louise. Louise is speaking too. You're looking just like Louise there. Looks like one session in German and one session in English on there as well. But Gary, you're speaking too, and I'll quickly dig that link up from where I
am. Yes, at the in-person event in Reading. Doing a session, build Microsoft 365 apps that help keep employees in the flow of work. So I will be talking about
a word about the accessibility on that though as well at the end.
I will have a word. Yes, that's bad, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll be talking about new apps that you can build in Teams, Microsoft 365 platform. So I'll be talking about the new Teams JavaScript SDK, some new features in there, and also the Teams toolkit as well. So if you're new to Teams development and Office development, or you've had a dabble with it in the past, then I'm sure there's something that you're going to be able to take away from that session.
So I hadn't quite picked up on this. So you are doing this on the Wednesday, so you'll be there at TVP, and people will be able to come and watch you do this.
So it's the UK event is one of a number of regional spotlights that are happening for Build this year. So the main build is still remote, and it's all being delivered online. The regional sessions will be both, so they'll be both in person and online as well. There's a number of kind of on both days actually, things that are happening. The focus is on that Wednesday, a full day of other sessions that are taking place as well. I think there's 6 sessions in the whole day, ask the experts. I think there's some vendors there as well, it's a full day planned.
That is quite exciting. So that should be good. Other events we've got come up. I think Al, Luke, and Louise will all be up in Glasgow for the Scottish Summit. That one, just 24 days and 12 hours for us all to finish our presentation. Sorry, for us to get ready for that event. So that will be exciting. I noticed it's got pub quiz registration. I believe that's that is full, sadly, for that one. The hackathon, though, and we've talked about accessibility. I know it's going to be an accessibility hackathon. So as far as I know, that isn't full on that, which is great. The other one we've got is Converse coming up in, that will be the end of June. What's that, 29th and 30th? Luke, you're speaking at that, are you?
Which one, sorry, Kev?
Comsverse.
You know what? I didn't actually make the grade this year, I'm afraid. I only made Scottish Summit, I'm afraid.
I only got put in through because I said I'd help out, and then someone said, "Oh, you can come and help me with this talk." I was like, "Oh,
really?
fantastic."
Maybe that's the tack I should have taken this year. But yeah, unfortunately, no. It was very crushing because I was Comsverse last year, but this time, unfortunately, didn't make the grade.
Oh, that's a shame. And Al, are you coming for that one? I can't remember.
No, like Luke, didn't make the grade this year. So
sorry.
Well,
should have asked this before the show started.
Well, if Al's not getting in, the competition is fierce, is what I would say. If he can't get in, what hope is there for the rest of us?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all.
Right, I'm going to move away from Comsverse very quickly, and then the other one is South Coast Summit coming up on 14th and 15th October, so a little way to go, but I think the call for speakers should hopefully be opening up for that fairly soon. There we go, 1st of June on that, so if you are a speaker, do look out for that. Or if you're thinking about being a speaker, keep an eye there. I believe there'll be a new speakers program, and certainly I'm going to speak for the others and get in trouble now, but I'm sure if you speak to us, we'll be happy to chat to you about how to do that and support people through that. So the more new speakers we can get, the better.
Yeah, I think I'm helping out on the security side for this one. So if you want to speak about that, then like Kev said, by all means.
Is that on the front door as a bouncer or?
No.
Oh, that security side.
I don't think. Again, I'm not sure if I'm. I feel like I'm too affable, too friendly. I'm not sure if I'd make the cut as some sort of scary bouncer. Okay.
It's like you're not coming in. Oh, go on. All right.
We'll leave Chris Huntingford for that.
It would be a struggle for me. So yeah, I think that would be another good one to come on down to.
So yeah, I know Louise is speaking at all those events and a couple of others, which I'll try and add onto the show notes because I've lost what they are handy. But she's having a very busy May and June, I think it's fair to say. So which is looking good. Otherwise, we'll wrap up there with the latest news. We haven't done one of these news for a while, which is why I think it's gone on a bit. But good to share with that. Stick around. We'll have either a week or maybe slightly less than a week. We'll have part 2 out. We'll be speaking to Luke about infrastructure as code. But otherwise, thank you very much and goodbye.